Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. Viewers, for many days now, we have been discussing Senate elections, especially the vote of no confidence against Chairman Senate. And we are going to discuss that in most of this program. But unfortunately, a sad incident happened today in Quetta, where a terrorist attack killed four people, and that was a very sad development. Remember, since Prime Minister of Pakistan has come back from the US, after that it seems that the detractors of Pakistan are not happy with whatever was the outcome. And since then, day before yesterday, we saw actually 10 casualties in various acts of terror, and that was really worrying. Even today, when you talk about India-Pakistan, neighborhood, especially LOC, there we have seen skirmishes. India was initiating it. So it seems that those elements that are not satisfied, that are not happy, are actually doing these sad things in Pakistan. Given this entire trend, yesterday we saw the Foreign Minister of Pakistan on the floor of the House speaking very, forcefully for the need for national unity. We are going to talk about that also. But regarding this sad, tragic incident, we are going to talk to Liaquat Shahwani Saab, who is advisor to the Chief Minister of Balochistan. Liaquat Shahwani Saab, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for
Shivani Saab, what can you tell us about the lead so far? Who is responsible for this cowardly attack?
Well, first I strongly condemn this cowardly event act of bomb blast happened today in near Mizan Chowk, Quetta city, and four people martyred, including two police personnel, two civilians, and many injured. And it is a witness that law enforcement agencies are doing their best to protect the people of Balochistan, provide them peace and security, and they were performing their duty while bomb was planted in a motorcycle, and that exploded, and this tragic incident happened. So
Right.
soon after, Chief Minister of Balochistan, we were sitting in a cabinet meeting as Chief Minister to have informed that this tragic incident has happened. So at the same time, he condemned the incident and ordered the department to impose emergency in the entire hospitals and provide the entire injured with best available facilities of health. And there should not be any compromise in taking care of these injured. So, since we are living very close to this forest border of Afghanistan, only 2 hours drive is unfortunately, this kind of incidents previously has always been happening. But the unfortunate point is that government has controlled, particularly in this 1 year,
Right.
and curtailed these incidents. Otherwise, previously, almost on daily basis, it had always been happening. And the
Right.
provincial government has increased the budget of law and order.
It seems that
Almost it is
that
1
trend is
billion
continuing.
rupees.
Liaquat Shahwani Saab, thank you very much for your time, sir. There was slight lack of quality of sound, and that's why we have to leave it there. But let me now actually introduce the guest I've got in the studio. And we are going to start with the need for national unity, and then we are going to work ourselves further to the Senate election or the vote of no confidence in the Senate. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Dr. Niaz Mirza, a political economist and a columnist of renown. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Zubair Hori, a senior analyst, needs no introduction, a regular on this show, and used to host program for this channel as well. Thank you very much, sir, for your participation. Next to him is Naseem Siddiqui Saab, a senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Dr. Niaz Mirza, I have to start with you and I have to ask you, what do you make of the statement that we need national unity in the country, especially because this country is given to a lot of paranoia and we keep on fighting among ourselves? Is it important right now to present a unified front to the hostile forces?
Of course, whenever, there is a national security issue, it goes without saying that, we have to have national unity. We need to develop, strategies which are not just the strategies of the government, but the opposition, everybody, civil society, media, everybody has to, participate and, contribute towards that, the kind of unity we had after the school attack in
APS,
Peshawar,
yeah.
APS, whenever there was a big attack on the Karachi airport. So normally you see, people coming together and, expressing solidarity. And I think what we've seen over the last 2-3 months is there seems to be a so not huge, but slight deterioration on the situation in Balochistan, several incidents, one after another, maybe, once a month or that kind of frequency. And I don't think anybody has yet taken responsibility for this attack. But, you can try to guess that, whenever there's an attack on the Hazara, it's more likely to be the religious extremist. And in this case, I think it was very close to a police station.
Yeah.
So whenever there is an attack on security agencies, the suspicion falls more on, some of the Baloch militants. And it's quite possible because, the USA has recently made one of those groups, named them as a terrorist group.
BLA.
So it may have something to do with that. But clearly, there's a need for national unity and, go back to the drawing board and see where we are missing in terms of
Where
our
we are
planning.
missing, or perhaps the enemy might be exploiting our divisions, and that is also important. Let me go to Dr. Zubair Hori. Dr. Saab, we have been talking a lot about hybrid warfare, and it seems that the enemy is not content with only sowing the seeds of division. We see such terror activities all over the country once again. What exactly can the nation do and how can it unite?
Well, there's no doubt about it that whenever there is a problem, there is a tragedy, it unites a nation. And some of the incidents that Dr. Saab has pointed out, and even if this incident, although it's a smaller nature and we should not be blowing up that much on the media, but
nobody is blowing it up, but a day
needs,
before yesterday, something happened in Turbat as well.
Yeah, it needs to be condemned, it needs to be taken into, but most of these incidents in the past 3-4 months have happened in Balochistan. That is a big concern, and we have to look into the matters in a more holistic way over there. Yes, international forces are present, and yes, BLA might have been involved. Yes, Indian involvement could be there because we have found the traces. We have not only the traces, but we have the facts in our hand in case of Kulbhushan Jadav's case, and he has rather confessed and admitted his crime. So he has been involved in all these activities. So the footprints of raw international agencies and the involvement of the international players is not a secret anymore. We have been facing that. But definitely it's a matter of concern that why these incidents are happening now in a rather regular way, as you are referring to. So security agencies need to look into it because mostly the administration and the police is under control by the security agencies.
Right.
Police is playing the second fiddle role over there, but in Quetta, police is very much present there, levies is also there, and also the army and rangers, the presence is there. We have to see that why in the heart of the city they are able to get into it, why we have not
Right.
been able to control it in
That,
this way.
that makes sense, and one has to actually look into those details as well. But Naseem Siddiqui Sahab, a lot of things happened simultaneously. On one side, we saw what happened in Turbat and today in Quetta. Similarly, on the same day when Turbat happened, there was an attack, terrorist attack from across the border from Afghanistan. Then we saw similar kind of attacks elsewhere as well. And then India is also really heating up the LOC. So don't you see a pattern here?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for inviting. Yes, we can see the same pattern which was which we have seen in the past, and that was stopped by Zarb-e Asab and the other Adul Fasad the military has launched. After that one, these things were stopped, and it was looking like that they have got a good control. Our security forces has got a good control. But in the past few months, we have seen that
No,
it has.
I'm not talking about past few months. I'm talking about rather 1.5 week, past weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that we have seen a similar kind of pattern. And it seems that somebody is really miffed at what happened in the US. And that's why we keep on coming under attack.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that in past few months as well, and in past few days, as you mentioned, it has been aggravated. So it's all, I think, it's international conspiracy against Pakistan, because you have seen that India is thrown out of Afghan talks, so he is not happy on that. What you have seen on the Indian channels, that they are not happy. They are not happy with the visit of Pakistani Prime Minister for USA. They have seen that President Trump has praised a lot our Prime Minister, and he has shown great interest in Pakistan to resolve the Afghanistan matter. So that thing
And
is
even Kashmir matter.
even
for that
Kashmir
matter.
matter. So that's very
And
difficult.
then all of a sudden, Ajit Doval rushes to Kashmir and then decides to airlift 10,000 more soldiers to the valley and start policing.
So that's really difficult for India to digest at the moment. So they
Why?
have
Why be so petty?
no, because they don't want to see Pakistan progressing, Pakistan going up. They can't. You have seen Indian media, and they are so against us. So that's why after these things, you have seen that these things has been aggravated in the last few days. We have seen aggression on LOC as well. You can see India. It's no hidden point that India is always involved in Balochistan.
Yeah, but in the past, India was ruled by parties like Congress, which used to believe in soft Hindutva, where they would actually hide their agenda and then shift the blame on Pakistan. But now the current lot doesn't seem to be that much worried about that. They keep on actually, doing whatever they want to. No matter their fingerprints are everywhere, they don't mind the responsibility or responsibility being fixed. Now, let us come back to Pakistan and let us talk about the election, the Senate situation, which is important. We have repeatedly given you viewers the number game, which is very clear. But just to actually break the ice, I want to understand, what do you think, what is going to happen on first?
Well, I mean, there is some doubt now that whether the voting will actually take place on the first or not. There was a report in Dawn today that the government may try to delay it on technical grounds for a few days more. So it's still not certain whether voting will take place, but eventually, yeah, I guess within the next 2-3 days, definitely the voting will have to take place. And as things look right now, and even going by the tone and the actions of the government, it seems very likely that the motion against the chairperson will pass.
Okay.
But the motion against the deputy chairperson will probably
Fail?
And I think the only thing that can come in between that eventuality is some sort of manipulation from the government or from other forces.
Right.
Yeah, but I think the PTI and all forces should try to avoid that. the number game is such that, the Senate is already in the hands of the opposition. It's true that, the Senate chairperson has some powers on some issues, who can speak, I guess, in terms of, the production orders. But in terms of, fairness and letting, you were talking about national unity.
Yeah.
So, recognize the fact that, there's a majority in favor of, removing, and just to create that good environment in the country so that everybody
Yeah.
can focus on
So
terrorism.
every time Zardari Saab changes his mood, we have to actually
Well, I mean, it's
see
not
that
so
point.
frequent. I mean, I think the logic then was that the opposition parties at that time came together and elected their own, and now there's a
Asif Ali
different opposition.
Zardari at that time was actually saying that he wants to punish PMLN.
Because
and
it was
then
in the
he
government.
wanted to punish the incumbent chairman as well, and he did.
Yeah.
Now, once again, he wants to punish the incumbent. So, whatever he thinks
Yeah,
goes,
I
right?
mean, but there's a broader issue too beyond Mr.
And we are going
Zardari's
to talk about that as well.
machinations.
We have all
Yeah.
the time for that. Let me bring in Dr. Zubair Hori. Sir, your take. Who's going to win?
Well, apparently, as the numbers, as we have seen,
Forget numbers. Well, what is your hunch?
I don't believe in hunches. I go for
You
the,
don't believe in hunches.
yeah, no.
Okay.
I go by the factual situation that is in front of me. Yes, there can be a possibility that the government can win over 12, 13 persons, which they are trying to get in to get
Even
those numbers
then, the
equal.
number is not,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't get the numbers.
Yeah. So even if 12, 13 persons are not able to give them that majority, so it means that they have to sweep up the number maybe to 20.
Yeah.
So that is a big number in a
Entire
small
People's
house.
Party then has to vote for the government. Okay.
So the point that Dr. Saab has pointed out is very interesting, that previously when Sadiq Sanjarani Saab was elected, it was against the sitting government, the opposition parties made an alliance. And similar is going to happen. And perhaps the receiving end at the moment is the PTI. Previously, this is the
How
PTI
is it
with
PTI?
joined hands.
No, how is it PTI?
No, the government, I'm
It is
saying.
Balochistan Awami Party's
No, I'm
chairman.
not saying. You know that this is not Balochistan Awami parties. They had the support of PTI and Pakistan People's Party. He was nobody before the election.
People's Party, its leader actually went to Quetta, spent a lot of time, engineered the entire atmospherics,
Yeah.
and then came up with this.
Yeah, I know.
And now it is PTI's chairman.
Did you know him, Mr. Sanjarani, as the a person of a national stature before this event happened?
Two wrongs never make a right, right?
I'm not saying-
At that time when he
When
entered...
did I say?
No, when he became chairman...
When did I say two
No,
wrongs?
but just to make my point, when he became chairman, he had zero experience of parliament. But now he has experience.
I'm not saying this.
So
This is
once
not my
he
point.
has experience, we have to
No,
remove
experience has nothing to do with it. The point here is it was the Pakistan People's Party and PTI at that point in time, they decided to have somebody as their chairman. Now, PTI has changed over from the opposition party in the House and they have become the government. Now they are the government in the House, and now, of course, you are right that it is the call of ex-President Zardari that he wants to make it. But yes, it is. This is the fate that they are facing at the moment. Now, the other side of the perspective is, let's flip it. If the government has its way and Sanjarani Saab is able to keep his seat, what do you think that has happened in the House? 20 people changing the sides of the table?
Not for the first time.
Not for the first
It's,
time. I know.
it's a secret ballot, by the way.
I know. Even if it is secret ballot, but once the decision will come out, it will no more be a secret.
No.
In a few days, you will come to know that how many people were there and how you were not
we
there.
wouldn't know whether Zubair Hori voted for against his own party
My
or
dear,
Dr. Saab
I have seen
or
it. I
Siddiqui
have
Saab.
seen in this country's videos showing the people
Yeah, yeah,
who
we
have
have
become senators, who have exchanged hands, who have been taken money. So it will be a matter of days, these things will come out.
Right.
Because they have their own skeletons in their cupboards. Everybody have their own skeletons.
Okay.
So once the time will pass, what will come out of the democracy and the morality and the high moral standards we keep on talking? The point here is, let the things be, and I think government at this point in time appears to be taking a saner way, that they are letting the things roll as they are.
Siddiqui Saab, it seems a short-lived victory, even if the opposition manages to change the chairman Senate, because in 1.5 years, You're
Yeah.
going to have,
Their-
you
your own
know,
chairman.
major change in the composition of Senate, and then PTI will have its own way.
That's why I don't understand that why people are so much worried about the changing or the elections of Senate chairman, because what will happen if the chairman Senate changes? Nothing going to change. And you know that
No, the opposition then will control the bill, the flow of bills in the House, especially in Senate.
basically Sadiq Sanjrani is not a PTI chairman, you know,
No,
from
he
where
is
it
not.
comes. At that time,
He is
People's
not.
Party
But
was
if you are going
supporting.
to give Hasil Bazinjo or anybody else who's openly aligned with PMLN or People's Party that kind of power, he might be able to actually stop the bills.
I don't think so. That really matters at the moment, because you have seen that PMLN don't have any senators in the Senate. They all won at independent seats.
No, no,
Yes. No, they are
Some of them,
affiliated.
some of them, not all of them.
No, their papers were cancelled because Nawaz Sharif was.
No,
he
those who
signed
were
those documents.
elected
Yeah.
were elected as independents.
Yeah.
There were carryovers as well, holdovers, right?
Few of
so
them,
they
yes.
From
they,
6
they
years ago,
continue.
Yeah. So as my colleague was saying that don't know what happens in the secret ballot. So you will see that
Actually, this friend was saying.
the forces who worked to make Sadiq Sanjrani chairman at that time, everybody knows who was behind it.
Who
And,
was it?
You know,
I mean, come
You know
on.
better than me.
Everybody keeps on implying that there might be something supernatural going
yeah, it
on.
was not.
With due respect, Asif Ali Zardari.
It was not Asif Ali Zardari.
Asif Ali Zardari went to Quetta.
Yeah.
Then he nominated a point man, and then he kept on mentioning money after
And he
monies
was helped
and
by
monies.
other forces as well. So those forces are working at the same time.
I
They are
mean,
trying to change
where's the
loyalties.
evidence?
Yeah, not
Where's the
evidence.
evidence?
That's what we have seen with the experience.
One
in
man
this
is
country.
saying,
Yeah.
I'm doing it,
Yeah.
right? The others are not saying anything.
can't see them.
Why would we actually imply that somebody else is doing it when Asif Ali Zardari took a bow? He took a responsibility. And he claimed, do you know when Sadiq Sanjrani was elected, Nara came, Ek Zardari sab pe bhari. I mean, Zardari dominates everybody.
Zardari also said that I will change the chief minister of Punjab as well, or NAP ke chairman ki kya jurrat. So he is a politician.
Eent baja dunga.
Yeah, eat seed baja dunga. Where is that eat? So let's see it's just after tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll see that what happens.
Now, of course, we don't know what is going to happen, Dr. Saab, but let us focus on hypotheticals, right? If the chairman Senate changes, how is it going to actually affect the lawmaking? Because Senate plays a very important role. It is the territorial house. We have one popular house and one territorial house, with the exception of money bills. Everything else goes to the Senate, and Senate has a very important, influence on that.
Yeah. But just to address another point you made that, he's now gained experience, why are you moving him? It's not a technical job. It's a political job, and in a political job, it's not just the experience, it's also the trust. Okay. So, the opposition is not moving against him because he's inexperienced, but they're moving because they don't trust him as much they would, somebody like Hasil Bazinjo and so on. And then, I don't think it will make so much of a difference in legislation. It's more, the administrative issues in terms of, who's allowed to speak, and then, things like production orders, which have become, very, very important, the way, accountability.
Who decides the standing committees? Chairman does.
Yeah, and the production order is given by the...
And the standing committees actually play an essential role in, approving the bills that are tabled,
Exactly.
on the floor of the
But
House.
those are already done, there is a clear division, the government has some, the opposition has some. Okay. But it's more, the administrative power. And then, the broader issue is that, the way things are going, the autocratic tendencies, the opposition being pushed against the wall in the National Assembly, outside. So if there is, a
Dr.
space...
Saab, I'm glad, and I'm also fascinated that you you and I are both reading from the same book, but totally different translations.
Yeah.
You're talking about, experience doesn't matter.
I'm not saying doesn't matter, but trust also matters.
No,
here.
of course. But remember, Reza Rabbani had the trust of the entire house at that time.
Yeah.
Only Asif Ali Zardari,
Asif Ali
his
Zardari.
own party was actually protesting that
So,
let
you know,
Reza Rabbani. Yeah.
That shows my point.
No,
Reza
that is
Rabbani
true.
had the experience,
But
but
he's
he
not
lost the trust of Zardari, right?
Asif Ali
was the issue.
Zardari.
Oh, yeah, one
And
person.
then you're talking about autocratic tendencies,
Of course.
where Asif Ali Zardari's autocratic tendencies don't matter. It is essentially onus is on the government.
Everybody's autocratic tendencies matter, but with an opposition leader, he can only manipulate these kind of things.
Yeah.
But the government, it has so many tools in its hands, so much administrative powers, legal powers that it can take a lot of steps which an opposition leader cannot take. So from that point of view, I think it would be good for the country if there is some balance, if the opposition gains ground in some territory, so that there is more plurality in the country.
Pluralism is important, but when you're talking about lower house, it is essentially a hung parliament.
Yeah.
And despite that, we need more checks and balances when Senate is already dominated by opposition. But sir, here's another question, Zubair Hari Saab. You can talk about how it is going to affect legislative business, but there is another question regarding PMLN People's Party dynamic. When PMLN was ruling the country, this followed Balochistan government, and then the chairman Senate bid was a serious jolt to the party, and that sort of marked its decline. And there Asif Ali Zardari played a crucial role. And now he changes his opinion, and PMLN goes scurrying back. What does it tell you? Are they that easy?
No, it's not that easy. If the chairman Senate changes, it will have 2-3 main points into consideration. One is the symbolic value, that the government has lost its man in the House, and the opposition party's man is there who is chairing it. So that can be a negative point for the government, that this can be potentially first big blow from the opposition side to the government in 1 year's time, as far as the legislative politics is concerned. The second thing is, which is again symbolically, but political value it is, as you have rightly pointed out, that PMLN and Pakistan People's Party were not having so much good relations. And lowest point was achieved during the election process of Mr. Sanjarani. Now, this will indicate that they have come closer to each other. They have shelved their differences, at least for the time being, against this government, and they are joining hands together. And once they are joining hands together, that can be a problematic even outside of that, outside the parliament. And the third point is, on the basis of the making of the committees and also of the legislative process, yes, the chairman will play a very vital role, and he can, because Mr. Bazinjo can bring in, because he is the man for the Senate chairmanship from the opposition, he can bring in changes and bring in more people, hence more protection order can be issued, and hence more wrath of the government will come in, that why these people are being invited for the assembly proceedings when they are under process.
No, but how many senators are going through that process?
Not at the
National
moment.
Assembly's members might be, but
Not at,
senators
There are
are
no
not at the
senator at the
moment.
moment.
Not at the moment, but they may be.
They may be.
You never know.
Can you
Maybe.
mention a couple of people?
There is
No.
a couple. Yeah. There
I
are.
don't want to.
Which
I don't want
ones?
to name them.
Senator Tanveer, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to name
And
them.
what is the charge?
Same corruption.
Benami Jaidad.
Benami Jaidad that has been taken
Okay.
into consideration
Ishaq
already.
Dar.
Ishaq Dar Sahab. There are many
Ishaq
people.
Dar is not in the country.
No, if he comes back and
Chaudhry
Will
Tanveer
he?
is not in the
If
country.
Will he?
if they bring him in, and if you look at the talk
I mean, there
given
are
by
many moving
Shahzad
parts.
Sahab,
That won't happen.
no, my point here is that the government does not want anybody as the custodian of the house who is from the opposition, who can facilitate, who can ease the pressure on the opposition parties, and who can help them joining forces against them.
Yeah.
Because there is also one looming threat from Maulana Fazlur Rahman Saab, who has given this ultimatum to the government. It looks at this moment non-serious threat for me. But if he gathers X number of people against any pretext, maybe religious, maybe political, maybe judicial, whatever it is, then that will be a very serious threat to the government.
And he's actually invoking the name of religion.
Once
and
again,
actually once
unfortunately.
again, and that is, usually kind of works in Pakistan, and that
That's
is
a very
why-
unfortunate part.
Yeah, but it usually works elsewhere as well. Look at India, look at the US, you look at UK, elsewhere, right?
yeah.
But Siddiqui Saab, your take on both these issues? First question is, of course, about legislative business and how it is going to impact that. And the second is, when the PMLN clearly believes that it has been wronged by Asif Ali Zardari or his party, now one whistle and they are back together. Are you telling us, are you not telling us that PMLN is that easy? That 1 minute you can stab them in the back, the next moment they'll be supporting you, if you are ready to support them.
Actually, before at that time, you have heard that they were going to drag Asif Ali Zardari on roads.
Yeah,
There
that was in
that was a
2013.
different agenda at that moment. Now the agenda is Abu Bachao agenda at the moment. So
Abu
that's
Bachao.
why, that's
Save
why
fathers.
Save fathers. So both parties are together at the moment, and definitely if the Senate election goes on as has been announced, and there is a very good chance that opposition can win, they will win. So they can get a good pressure on the government at the moment. Morally, you can say.
For 1 year,
For
we'll
1
have
year,
more
at
tamasha.
least 1 year, because
16
at the
months
moment
or so.
opposition don't have anything like that. So they will be at least in a position to put pressure on government for 1 year. As you said earlier, Senate is a very important house where legislation is there, and like my colleague said, that for productions orders and for making standing committees, and they will be morally, at least they could have something to do.
So
and they could put some pressure on
regarding the
government.
nominee, I mean, People's Party was very clear when it was demanding deputy chairman last time when they went for the election. Tell me why Hasil Zinjo? Why not somebody from PMLN? Why not somebody from People's Party? Both have. If they wanted to actually confront a Baloch with a Baloch, they have plenty of representation from Balochistan in the Senate. Both parties do. So why not their own people?
Or they just want to show that it's not a party matter, it's just overall opposition is together, and they want to give a message to Balochistan.
It is
as
not a Vadera impulse,
Yeah.
not from within my own ranks.
Yeah, exactly. And they just want to make sure that there is nothing against Balochistan as well. That's why they are bringing Hasil Basinji from Balochistan as well. So just to give a good impact.
There's another
What
point
is it?
in that
Yeah.
both these big parties still has an element of distrust among themselves. If, for example, PMLN person comes in and there can be some severe issues because around 16, 17 months till the next elections are held and PTI will get the majority, there is a long time, and that they do not want to the cushion to each other. Similarly, if you look at the statements given by Maulana Fazlur Rahman Saab, and once he was saying that we will come to the streets, initially both these parties, People's Party and PMLN, they were not siding with him. Slowly and gradually they started mustering up the courage to stand with him, and then Zardari Saab said something, and then the other People's Party starting saying
No,
that.
then
But still they
Nawaz
are
Sharif
saying-
was arrested and
Yeah.
then Zardari was arrested.
Yes.
That is the
So-
actual dynamic.
So there is an element of distrust still in the opposition parties, and I think this is the silver lining for the government to go for.
Okay. But do you see the point? Qudratullah Shah, when he writes about his memoir, says that I wanted to build one school in one village. And the Vadera comes and then says, the feudal lord, says, don't build it in my area, build it in my cousins, who are my enemies, and I'm going to pay you more money, right? Is it not exactly the same dynamic at play? I cannot risk my own party with somebody who might be in power or influence. Because remember Javed Hashmi? He was sent behind bars on the orders of the party's leadership because they thought that if they are in exile, they cannot risk anybody becoming too big for their boots.
Well, as they say, there are no permanent alliances in politics. There are permanent interests. And, what these parties are looking at is, how their immediate, short-term, medium-term interests will be served by what kind of a strategy.
One man or one family.
And yeah, the way our parties are, it essentially means that.
Yeah.
So this is the lens from which the Sharif family is looking at things, and this is the lens from which Zardari family is looking at it. Now the element of trust is especially strong in the older generation, but with Mariam and Bilawal coming forward, they might be able to develop more trust and forget the past which happened between their parents. And then the other thing is the dynamics have changed. At one time PPP and PMLN were arch rivals at the national level.
You're
Now,
talking about 90s.
90s or even 2008,
2013 as well.
But now
come on,
the
come.
PPP has
I mean, it was a silent alliance that we are not going to pull the rug out of your
but
feet.
now the
Even a silent
PPP
alliance, they were
PPP is
joining hand, they have
the
together
PPP is
ministries.
out as
No,
a
in
national
2008.
competitor of PMLN, so that has changed. But I would also like to address this issue of Maulana Fazlur Rahman's threat. I mean, you've of course brought a very valid point about the religious card being used, but I am saying that even if the religious card was not being used, the kind of threats that he is giving that are extremely improper, to threaten that we will come to Islamabad, lock it down.
Yeah.
Those kind of tactics should only be used for a government which is completely
And
illegitimate.
then exploiting the fear of one minority.
Yeah.
I mean, and accusing
That
the
is, of
government
course,
on working on that
completely over
agenda.
the board. But even without that, I'm saying it's not proper to threaten governments in this manner and try to
Yeah, but-
whatever, if they have issues, they should try to discuss it in
No, tell me
parliament.
one
There
thing,
are
sir.
issues about how fair the elections were.
Wari Saab just said that initially they were reluctant and now they are coming together behind Maulana Fazlur Rahman. Both these parties, PMLN says that it is right of the center, but it is pro-minority party as well.
Yeah.
And People's Party has been claiming that it is a liberal party and it believes in total color blindness when it comes to religious spectrum.
Yeah.
And yet these parties are going to stand with with due respect, very dangerous kind of rhetoric of Maulana Fazlur Rahman. What does it tell you about ideology and value system in politics?
Yeah, I mean, it's very sensitive ground, and this is a dilemma that, more strong for PPP, but even for PMLN, because, it itself suffered so much, with all the Faizabad Dharna and so on. So I think they should be very clear that, there will be no religious card used if all of these parties are coming together, doing, demonstrations together. I mean, there was something in Quetta and so on. I don't think, Maulana used the religious card while the other parties were present. He's done it in his own
Every single time
So-
he is talking about Ahmadis
Yeah,
and how
that is
their
totally
agenda
wrong.
is actually
Yeah.
dictating
That's
politics.
totally wrong. And it's the responsibility of PPP and PMLN to make sure that the Maulana tones down that. And as I said, even beyond that, trying to remove a government through threats and all, this is like going back to the 1990s or what the PTI was trying to do. They should try to resolve whatever matters about the elections and so on within the parliament.
I have a question for Siddiqui Saab, and I want to understand this dynamic. How a PTI government actually tackles Maulana Fazlur Rahman. I mean, Maulana Fazlur Rahman is not a complicated business. Offer him some stakes in the system, and he's back. He doesn't threaten you. But it seems that PTI doesn't want to actually do it at all. Why not?
Because Prime Minister Imran Khan has been using his name in the jalsas too much.
Even in America,
Even
he
in
mentioned
America,
diesel.
so you don't want to bring him back by any means.
don't know the
I would
reference.
think so that PTI is frightened of Maulana Fazlur Rahman. Maulana Fazlur Rahman is too much desperate at the moment.
No,
He
with due
lived in the
respect,
minister's enclave for
Siddiqui
last 15 years.
Siddiqui Saab, with due respect, the governments never have to fear anybody.
Yeah.
The PMLN didn't have to fear PTI's dharna. It didn't have to fear the TLP Jalsa either. And similarly, the present government, it is you and I who are troubled by all these movements or these sit-ins, and that might actually cause further pain. Right? So one has to actually look at that as well. So why not actually bring Maulana Fazlur Rahman in, silence him,
That would
and
be
then keep
the biggest U-turn of the century, I think.
No,
If they bring
no.
Maulana Fazlur Rahman
Learn from Pervez Musharraf. But brought him in, made him opposition leader. And everything was hunky-dory. Maulana Fazlur Rahman then wouldn't go to Musharraf or confront him, would actually go to the US ambassador and said, look, help me in becoming Prime
Well,
Minister
he
of
did
Pakistan.
more than that. He also gave them, the KP and Balochistan governments, not just leader of opposition. So now Imran can't do that.
I mean, my leader of opposition is not a biggie. I mean, he can get it.
He's not even in the assembly.
I mean, 5 minutes and he'll be in. Right? Ghari Sahib, your take.
Well, this government has has given some statements, and they have taken back those statements. People call them in the street language, that's a U-turn.
Yeah.
So if another U-turn can be taken, so be it. That's not an issue. But I don't think that Imran Khan Saab is going to take that decision, because there is a kind of a personal thing that developed from the side of Maulana Fazlur Rahman Saab, and he made some personal attacks that is below the belt.
He usually does.
Yeah, and then Imran Khan Saab at that point in time took that decision, and then he started kind of taking some personal things into them. Before that, I didn't see such things were happening. But even if you give him offer now, he has passed some time now, because he has put in so much stakes into this opposition movement.
You're talking about Maulana Fazlur.
Yeah, I'm talking about Maulana Fazlur Rahman.
I assure you, it will take only 5 minutes
Yeah,
to
because he
defuse
has
the
paid
bomb.
He's not.
many
He's
bills
not
from
going
his
to
own
take it.
pocket, so he's just waiting for somebody to pay his bills.
He's not going to take it, but he will definitely try to get in something in the provincial assemblies, or maybe in the upcoming Senate elections, that he may
No,
get
I
in some
remember
areas.
he used to go daily to Nawaz Sharif, right, when he was Prime Minister, asking him, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government can be, brought down, and Balochistan government, these, Baloch nationalist politicians, the likes of Hasil Bazinjo, who is now the hero of the opposition, they can be brought down very easily. Let me form the government on both sides, and I will deliver you a lot of positive results. Nawaz Sharif refused that, right?
Yeah.
Today, Maulana Fazlur Rahman doesn't need to have a provincial government, but at that time also he got, which one? Housing Ministry. I mean, it's a money spinner, right? And then a couple of other things, and he was.
My point here is you have missed the first thing that I mentioned. There is a personal thing by Maulana who has developed it, and between Maulana Saab and Imran Khan Saab, there is no love lost. So neither Imran Khan Saab are going to offer him, and even if some small thing is being offered to Fazlur Rahman Saab, because he has lost his main constituency against him, he has lost his main ground against him, which is his raison d'etre, as you put it in French. So this is the standing ground. Yeah, the standing ground of Maulana Saab, and he wants to get back that one.
But his
He
party
is not
actually
going to.
made a lot of
He's
gains.
He's not going to
His
bargain
party
it with
made-
any small position.
Right.
If it's a big if, his opposition and his rallies can bring in some drastic change, then he will get the lion's share.
No, that will not happen.
That's what he's putting his eggs
Yeah,
on.
but his party recently had some success in
Yeah.
FATA elections, right? Former FATA. So you want to say something?
I was just want to say that in my mind just came that Imran Khan has a very big brawl with Sheikh Rashid in a TV show.
Yeah.
And then he brought in Sheikh Rashid.
Hardly any personal thing.
No, it was very personal,
was a
but it
very
was
big
ancient
personal.
history, ages ago,
Yeah,
2002,
ages ago.
2003.
So yes,
below
but
the
we can
belt.
expect nothing is impossible in Pakistan.
No, but nobody is saying that actually bring him as an ally. Nobody is even saying that give him any position of power. But Maulana Fazlur Rahman is not difficult, a person. You can actually find some solution.
I agree with my colleague that there is now distance has been very broadened between Imran Khan and Fazlur Rahman. There are too many things.
So who's asking them to actually play golf together? I mean, come on, nobody is saying
But
that, right?
then how can Imran Khan say in these jalsas that diesel is a very big demand in the
And
jalsa?
yet
They
Shibli
want to
Faraz-
listen. something
No,
against
but
him.
even at that time, Shibli Faraz Sahab actually goes with a delegation of Balochistan Awami Party and meets them and requests them not to vote in support of opposition candidate.
Yeah.
So that can happen.
That can happen.
I mean,
yeah.
Nawaz Sharif never had to actually go. Imran Khan doesn't need to go all the time. There are other
The other
people who
people can
do
go
it.
and yes,
Yeah,
they
I
can.
think it will also create a lot of anger within PTI if he takes on board Fazlur Rahman. There are a lot of people.
Yeah,
you
even-
know,
PTI is their home ground.
Even Imran Khan was not.
Even as opposition.
Yeah.
Even if Maulana Fazlur Rahman actually comes back to the parliament and that's it.
like Imran Khan was
Like
not.
definitely, if he
that's
takes him as
long
an
haul.
ally, then definitely.
not
but
as
if
an
it's
ally.
something smaller,
One thing.
I mean, it's difficult to say.
Like Imran Khan was not ready to make Shehbaz Sharif the opposition leader or the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. But the other people convinced him or went to see Shehbaz Sharif and there was a deal and he was made Public Accounts
Yeah,
Committee chairman.
but then there was a lot of anger, complaints, and
Yeah.
even the government kept on saying it was a bad call.
Yeah.
That also happens, right? But we still have to wait and see what exactly is going to happen.
Happens the day after tomorrow,
Day
yes.
after tomorrow or whenever it happens. I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Siddiqui Saab, thank you very much for your time. Dr. Ghori, thank you very much for your time as well, sir. And Dr. Naz Murza, thank you very much for being here. A pleasure as always having you all here. Viewers, you have listened to the participants. Of course, we need national unity, but then Pakistan's politics is a very polarizing place. So we seem to have political polarization as well. And in the middle of the two, somebody with their hybrid warfare actually manages to divide us further. So we have to actually sit back and take stock of circumstances and then come up with a unified strategy. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.